want, we can make this graph in Excel, and of course, because it's old version of Excel, it's going to look very, very ugly, but we can do it. And it's basically going to look like typical long tail, right? Which we discussed about yesterday, okay? Okay, so, but if we want, we can take this, and of course, the thing is we can also take more columns, so we can also, for example, say how many looks are per country, or how many followers are, or for example, here we have also economic data about GDP, etc., etc. Okay, but I'm just going to take, let's say, these columns. So some people have, so basically some countries have negative numbers because either users deleted themselves or the couple deleted users, which is also interesting, right? Okay, so we go here, we say, it's going to be fun. Now let's go back to mini eyes. So this is very simple. Okay, paste the data, and then the mini eyes immediately is going to give you feedback. It says, did I interpret the data correctly? You say, great. Okay, this is text, this is number, this is number. So I have to give it some kind of title, so we can say, well, actually maybe it should, okay, we can say something test, okay, something like this. We can say create. Okay, so now this data is published, so potentially anybody can come visualize it. So if you don't like it, then don't do it. You have some precious data, don't put it there. And now, oh sorry, what is it? What happened to it? It just, sorry, did I just set save?
Maybe you can clear up something?
Oh, I said, test, let's say create. So here it is. Okay, so now here's my data set. It basically shows me a sample. If I say view as text, it's going to actually show me like what I actually uploaded. Right? Well, and then we can say visualize. And now, well, now of course, when you first start playing, right, if you never did graphs, you would end up with lots of strange looking things, but you can slowly get started. And I've been doing it for like a year, and I'm definitely not an expert, but let's just see if we can do, for example, a kind of scatter plot, and we'll see if it's going to be meaningful or not. Okay, well, it's not very interesting, right? Not very interesting. Okay, let's see if we can try something else. Let's see what we can do. Yeah. Well, we can do a tech cloud. Yeah, one work. Well.
Is it going to automatically make the words?
Okay, so we basically got the same theme, but let me see if we can do it per country. That of course depends if I organize my data correctly. So we'll see if it's going to recognize the first column as we'll find out if it's going to work or not. Hold on, so hold on, it's not this one. Where is the world map? Right here we go. Okay, so it's working. It says, well, I didn't find Antarctica because I guess I misspelled it. Okay. Okay, well, I guess ignore Antarctica, right? Okay, so we're just going to ignore some things for which Korea, South Korea, that sounds okay, right? Okay. It allows wait island. Okay, so here we go, right? So it kind of works, okay? Okay, you don't have control over color, but it kind of works, right? So actually, but you know what? You don't see it very well. So now, if you like it, so basically, I can tell you that in terms of like large number of users, it's like UK, US, I think Brazil. No, not Brazil. US, UK, Singapore, Russia.
Yeah,
which is very interesting.
Change the scale because the scale is too.
Well, yeah. So okay. So it's not so easy to change the scale. You have to actually go change your numbers. But let's say I like this. I can publish it. Just a second. Let me see if I can publish it. So we're just doing an example, and here it is. So now if we go back to my contribution, it should be here somewhere.
Yeah, you had to click the same thing on the.
Oh, I didn't do it.
No.
Okay,
if you
sorry.
go back a page.
Sorry, yes, sure. Okay, sorry about that.
And
So I have to do this again. I have to do this again now. have to go for this kind of thing again now. Okay, sorry. Sorry, guys. Okay, so here it is. Now, notice that I have for example, Zoom, so I can zoom into it. So again, okay, it's not going to give you like any prizes, but you know, it's a start, and we can pen and find out that here's a Singapore somewhere, but I can see very well. And then if you also, you know, we can also change to a different view visualization, which is, sorry guys, you actually don't see it here because of the resolution, but you can also switch to bubbles. You can also basically have more maps. So you have certain flexibility here. Okay, and then let's say if you like it, I can say I'll have to make a title. You can say test 999, and we can publish. Okay. So many eyes, you know, go, if you like it, go play an account, and at least it can get you into the game, right? I did produce one social network diagram, but I have to say it came out pretty ugly. But that's because, you know, maybe the data was not very interesting because it was basically looking at the artist and I forgot which biennale, and looking at the city of birth and the city of work, and maybe the data just was not really, we didn't have enough links, right? But what I'll show you is that how my students were much more talented. The moment I showed them, we actually made this, I think, pretty cool project. So I did something like this. Okay, so it's like, it's okay. Well, it's definitely not, doesn't look as sexy, right? But it's true, right? But with little work, and you know, if you have a little Photoshop knowledge, let me show you what these guys did. This is obviously done using specialized software. Just a second, guys. I have it here somewhere. Yeah, I'm not going to show tonight because it's too much. But just a moment. Okay, so this is what we did. I mean, so basically we kind of used the many eyes, and then we simply kind of captured the screen, and then it has in Photoshop. And I mean, if you want, I can tell you about the project, but you know, I mean, don't be critical because undergraduate students. But basically, we kind of asked like 30 of our friends to make a list of all the kind of cultural brands we owe, and then we simply made a network between these 30 people in different cultural brands, and then, you know, we try to even sort of draw the circles which indicate some kind of subcultures. So, and then we made this kind of study of, you know, what we thought are particular subcultures. So this is casual, this is trendy, and yes, you know, and I kind of knew it theoretically to be problematic, but I said, okay, guys, just go do it, and this is what we did, right? So you know, so if you enhance with many eyes of Photoshop, you can get something